Another harrowing tale of utter brutality, this story plumbs the depths of darkness contained in the human psyche. We open on a dark and a stormy night. Through context clues, we understand to be approximately 4:05 a.m. An anxious and drug-addled man is breathing heavily and pondering the joys and pitfalls of marriage. When he lights a match and reveals himself to be Russell Crowe, everything suddenly makes a lot more sense. He then hops out of his truck and welcomes himself into the nearby home with a demolition hammer, which acts as his key to the house and the double murder committed therein. Then he splashes some fuel around for good measure and lights it up. Outside, he pauses momentarily, letting it hit him how much can be destroyed in an instant, and then he drives off into the night. Then we transition to Rachel, single momming it after a recent separation. She's woken up by a call from her lawyer Andy, letting her know that Richard filed a motion to try to get the house. Rather than immediately raising her hackles, she suggests a lunch meeting later to discuss it, as she doesn't have much fight left in her. Then she has to scramble to get ready while Kyle waits patiently, taking in the news about a house fire that occurred overnight. Through the process of their morning routine, we learn that Rachel lives with her brother Freddie and his lady Mary. They've moved in as the siblings work to get their mom transitioned to a retirement home so they can prepare her house for sale. Not quite soon enough, they're piling into the family wagon, getting hit with a little FOMO about the neighbor's sweet new minivan, complete with front and rear cup holders, while she's stuck racking up the mileage in her old poop box. Predictably late, they then enter LA traffic, trying to figure out the best way to get where they need to go while minimizing their lateness. Rachel opts to take the freeway against Kyle's recommendation, and soon they find themselves heading out into no man's land. Along the way, they get a call from Richard. In typical movie dad fashion, he has to let Kyle down, as he won't be able to take him to the big sports event due to his new job. And just wait until 2020, bro. And then the freeway comes to a halt, as to be expected. As Rachel stresses about Kyle's inevitable detention, she also gets a call from her biggest client, Deborah. Upon hearing that Rachel is going to be a little late again, she goes ahead and severs their professional relationship. Justifiably upset by this, Rachel laments the booming population and everyone's excessive reliance on vehicular travel.
Didn't you also oversleep?
Oh, shut up, turd boy. She snaps out of this and, ready to take life by the horn again, she resolves to get back off the freeway and take the service roads, zipping around like a maniac and working to get them back on track. Unfortunately, when her light turns green, the jag-off in front of her declines to move. She attempts to alert him with her automobile's vehicular alert device, doing him one extra time as she drives by for good measure. Of course, she then has to immediately stop in traffic, resulting in a relatable and awkward situation. The man requests a parlay and Kyle obliges. He cordially suggests she employ the courtesy tap at her next encounter, executed thusly. And despite her focused vitriol, he remains a true gentleman of the road. Ultimately, he requests a simple reciprocal apology to balance the scales so they can all go about their business. But Rachel remains obstinate. Fair enough, the man thinks, and he offers to demonstrate to her what it's like to have a truly bad day. True to his word, he uses the next straightaway to pull past her in shortstop. Then he pulls crosswise in the road and stares her down as she waits for the chance to take a side street. Kyle's able to finally get the window back up and she tries to reassure him and lighten the mood, after they both had to stare into the dark abyss of the masculine drive to find meaning in the endless drudgery of everyday life. They pull up to school and Rachel promises to pick him up after detention with an ice cream treat, but all he wants is her punctuality. On her way out, she calls up Andy again to see if they can switch to a breakfast meeting instead, as she needs someone to talk to right now. On her way there, she pulls up to the local come-and-go for some fuel and purchase a few scratchers. In the security monitor, she notices a familiar visitor patiently awaiting her return. She wisely includes the others in her travails, and the kindly thug behind her offers to walk her out and get the guy's plates in case anything happens. Outside, the two alphas take a moment to size each other up, and then he relays the plate number to her before suggesting his gentle friend just cool out and play the smart move here. Instead, he hits the accelerometer, flinging the Samaritan into the roadway, where he's finished off by one of those dangerous new electric cars. As the cars speed down the road, Rachel discovers that her phone is missing, so she focuses on not losing her forward progress. However, you can't beat LA traffic, so she finds herself boxed in as he playfully taps her bumper until a hole opens up. When he gets a chance to pull up again, we see that he just wanted her to know that he found her phone, and he'll just hang on to it until they meet again. And then a bus splits them up, sending Rachel on a series of turns and jogs until she finds herself facing the wrong way on a one-way in unfamiliar waters. Now armed with her phone, the man has her life in his hand, and he strolls into the diner to meet up with Andy. He introduces himself as Tom Cooper and explains that Rachel sent him to apologize that she's not going to be able to make it on time. He tries to start casual conversation to work some details out of Andy, but his vibes are just a little too off-putting. When Andy goes to leave, he instead bets him a cup of coffee that he can get Rachel on the phone. He pulls off this trick when we see that he planted an old flipster in Rachel's center console, Since the call starts off in utter confusion, Tom is able to acquire the phone before she has a chance to explain anything to Andy. Here again, Tom requests an apology, but to be said with feeling. Sensing something is way off here, Andy requests his phone back and gets glassed with a coffee mug. Then old Tom gets himself all riled up about the role the Andys of the world play in screwing over honest, hardworking men like him. In the process of explaining how the world works to Rachel, he casually beats and then slaughters Andy in front of a restaurant full of onlookers. Hey, good looking out, guys. Rachel tries to muster a genuine apology, but he can tell when she's faking. Plus, he already completed the murder. In the subsequent phone call, Tom welcomes suicide by cop as a possible outcome, so Rachel instead transitions to trying to figure out what he wants. But now he's just a big old ball of pent-up aggression and murderous rage, so all he wants is for her to pick a name, lest he be left to pick one on his own. Only rule is she can't pick herself, so she throws out Deborah's name for a reason she chooses to keep to herself. As he proceeds along his way, Rachel also pulls out of the parking lot and begins what must be a fairly long conversation with 911. Meanwhile, at her home, Freddie is busy watching the news when he hears some sounds coming from the back room. He goes to check on Mary and catches sight of a large silver pickup truck, like the one they were talking about on the news. So he proceeds, knife in hand, and discovers that Mary and Tom are already acquainted. Tom proceeds to recount his grievances with Rachel and confirms he's here to teach her a lesson about the consequences of one's actions. He then proceeds to stab Mary on Freddie's knife, and it's not clear who exactly he's holding responsible for this. As this is going on, Rachel zooms up to the school where the police have arrived to lock it down due to the nearby murder spree. As she pulls up, she gets a call from Tom, who gives her instructions to get Kyle and keep moving, or he'll hurt Freddie. Despite the soft lockdown, she convinces the office administrator to release Kyle to her. On the way out, we learn that he has a bit of a one-track mind.
Do you remember my Butterfinger Blizzard?
But in fairness, he is ignorant about what's going on. Then they reconnect to confirm Kyle's in the car. Tom demands to be put on speaker, and he forces Freddie to read the letter he made him write, in which he blames Rachel for everything bad that happened that day. But before he can finish, the police arrive. Luckily, Tom is both agile and elusive, and he hides behind Freddie, managing to distract the officer with his flaming lap and ducking out while only taking a single shot to the shoulder. Rachel and Kyle have a tender moment before he calls back, at which point they have a standoff about who will kill whom when he comes for Kyle. Then she destroys the phone and they take off toward the police station. On the way, Kyle points out that if she has her tablet, Tom could be using that to locate them. And she already checked, but encourages Kyle to check again. Sure enough, he finds it taped to the underside of her seat. Rather than ditching it, they decide to use it as a trace buster. It shows him as being nearby, and she realizes he's now acquired the neighbor's van. They casually pull past him to alert a police officer. But before the message gets across, he gets pitted, which he was trained to deal with, so he'll just call it in and... They use the tablet to call 911, but the emergency personnel are preoccupied with the terrible accident already, and then the tablet goes dead. New plans to go to Mama's old neighborhood, a confusing mess of spaghetti-style roads they hope will buy them some time. He pursues them hard and is only slowed down when he comes in contact with other motorists, allowing them enough slack to get the slip on him. Then they both wind their way through the neighborhood. Rachel and Kyle arrive at the house and take a moment to get their heads in the game before enacting their plan. Kyle runs in to set off the panic alarm and then tucks himself away inside a little hidden attic. Meanwhile, Rachel arms herself. Tom stalks them through the neighborhood, eventually coming across the driveway where they parked. He doses up in preparation to head in, but then gets rolled, T-bone style, from an unexpected direction. He somehow hides his girthiness and gets the drop on Rachel, but he doesn't kill her. His intention is for her to remember him when she thinks about her dead son. He busts in and feels out the situation a bit, and tries to flush out Kyle by claiming to be a police officer, which is actually a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in prison. So I guess you just added that to your docket, tough guy. Kyle fights the urge to emerge, but can't help but knock over some stuff, and then screams when his mom shows up. A fairly stupid move, because now their hidden compartment is easily findable, and Tom begins dragging them out. In the adjacent room, everyone takes turns inflicting some violence, but Tom is a bull moose, and there's not much hope of going head-to-head with him. Unless, that is, you opt to forcefully place your scissors into his eyeball. I don't know, this feels kinda unfinished.
Here's your fucking courtesy tap!
Okay, now he's certainly dead. As they get patched up, the officer from their house arrives and delivers the news that Uncle Freddie is alive, and other than his melted testicles, he's pretty much okay. They drive to see him, this time in a totally zen state about observing the natural flow of traffic. Although the odds of this type of event happening a second time are fairly low. Well, that was brutal, but if you're looking to go deeper than that, be sure to check out this video next. Now that we're here, I want to congratulate you for making it to the end of the video and affirm that you are a very special person because of it. And if you enjoyed the video, I would love for you to become a part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.